Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's demonstration of DataMaestro, Data Orchestration Reimagined. My name is Andrew Chavis. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Revelwood. I've spent over 20 years implementing TM1 planning analytics solutions, so I'm familiar with the challenges of using TM1 and planning analytics that are faced by administrators. And a little bit about Revelwood. We've been implementing TM1 planning analytics for over 25 years, and Revelwood Labs has been developing tools to enhance TM1 and planning analytics for almost as long. In fact, an early predecessor to DataMaestro called Data Control was actually licensed and distributed by Applix, which was the company that owned TM1 before being acquired by IBM. So the problem we're trying to solve is here. Some of you may recognize this. This is a TurboIntegrator script, or really just a portion of one. Most developers that I've worked with over the years love TurboIntegrator. It's a very powerful, very flexible tool, and as scripting languages go, it's actually somewhat simple. However, most TM1 and planning analytics administrators are not developers. They don't have computer science degrees. They're finance people, they're accounting people. TurboIntegrator was not built for finance users, and many admins get overwhelmed by TurboIntegrator. Competition out there in the marketplace to planning analytics uses FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, around TurboIntegrator to scare prospects about the difficulty of maintaining their TM1 systems. And to be honest, they have a bit of a point, because, as I said, TM1 was made for developers, not administrators. Which is why we created DataMaestro. It's an intuitive data orchestration platform that orchestrates your TM1 planning analytics data with no coding, all in minutes, from a simple web interface. So what do we mean by a data orchestration platform? Well, at its core, DataMaestro is a tool to enable admins to perform data manipulation tasks or jobs within their TM1 planning analytics models without the need for TurboIntegrator programming. It allows the admin to copy, move, clear, and export data from a single cube or multiple cubes at one time, which you'll see later. But it's a lot more. You can group jobs or tasks together and run on a schedule. There's detailed logging, easily accessible right from the tool, and email alerts are automatically sent when a job is complete. It's not intended to replace TurboIntegrator. TI is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot of functionality that belongs in TurboIntegrator. But you can manage your DataMaestro tasks and TurboIntegrator processes directly from the DataMaestro interface and take advantage of the inherent logging and messaging features. So let's talk about some use cases. Well, versioning in the planning cycle, seeding your budget, creating monthly forecasts. You can snapshot your data, freeze off a current copy of your forecast to present to management and load into your board books. You can extract data. It's very simply create flat files for downstream systems when no ODBC connection is available. You can use it to create what-if scenarios. Sandboxing exists in planning analytics, and it's a very powerful feature, but it's not very widely used because it's not very intuitive. Here, you can use DataMaestro to help with those what-ifs, good, better, best type situations. Updates to business structures. If you're hiring a new salesperson and you want to move some of the sales targets for a particular region from salesperson 1 to salesperson 2, you can do it right in DataMaestro, and you can actually add the new element right in DataMaestro. You don't have to go and add it first to copy data to it. You can move data, create a new element on the fly, and move data right to it. And you can easily keep records of when jobs and tasks have been run. You can leverage the messaging feature to keep that detailed list every time a job was run, the result of it, and use that for auditing purposes. So some of the benefits we're hearing from our customers. It's saving them time and effort by not having to write complex TI code to perform simple tasks. It saves frustration over searching through TM1 message logs and knowing when jobs have been completed or what the status of them are. But really the overall theme is that it gives the admins a greater comfort level, that they can own their TM1 system without relying so heavily on outside consultants. And before we jump into the demo, here's a quote from one of our customers, an experienced TM1 user who says he wishes DataMaestro was available years ago because of how much easier his job and his life have been. So with that said, let's jump over to a demo. So what we have here is a planning analytics dashboard. Not too complicated. I have 3 separate cubes. I have a finance detail cube, I have a finance summary cube, and I have a plan sales cube. Each of these cubes have slightly different dimensionality. Finance detail and summary are very related, but finance detail has a line item dimension, a plan lines dimension. As you can see, each of these cubes has their budget data filled out for 2022, but forecast is blank. And our task is to seed the forecast, increasing from budget, increasing everything by 5%, and to do it as quickly as possible. So in the TM1 TurboIntegrator world, I would go in and I would start building a TI process using finance detail as my source. I would create a view, I would create some subsets, I would maybe zero out, I would move data on the epilogue, I would clean up my views and subsets, and then I would go and do the same thing for my finance summary cube, and then I would go and do the same thing for my plan sales cube. Even experienced TM1 developers, this is a somewhat time-consuming process, but for your basic administrator, this is the sort of thing that can be daunting and might cause someone to call a consultant to help them out. So let's see how DataMaestro can help. So this is my DataMaestro screen. And on the left first, we have some menu items. Some of these are administrative that we won't really go into today. Today, we're going to talk about tasks and packages. So tasks, let's start here. A task is, you can think of as a single job, something you want to accomplish. It is somewhat analogous to a TurboIntegrator process in the sense that it's going to perform a function, but it's not the same. It's really designed to do one particular thing at a time. On our screens here, we see we have a list of pre-built tasks that I've used. There's different types, there's descriptions. I can see when it was modified, the last time it was modified and who did it. So what we're going to do today is we want to create a task to populate those 3 cubes. So I'm going to add a new task. This brings me up to my new task screen. So the first thing we have to tell DataMaestro is, what do we want to do? Well, let's look at the task type dropdown. And we have a couple options here. We can do a copy, we can do a move, or a zero out. Copy will copy data from one section to the other in a cube. Move will move data and clear out the source, so you're physically moving data. And zero out will zero out a particular target that you want to clear data from. Today, we're going to be doing a copy. We're going to copy data from our budget to our forecast. Next is the source type. As with TurboIntegrator, the first thing you have to tell Planning Analytics is, what data do you want to work with? Where are you going to start? And that's our source data. Well, we have a source type drop down here. Let's click this and see what it says. Well, we have a single cube as one option. And if I select single cube, as you might imagine, it's going to then ask me, what cube do I want to work with? But that's not our task here today. Our task here today is to move data for 3 different cubes. So instead of selecting single cube, I'm going to select multiple cubes. If I drop down, I do want to increase all my numbers by 5%. So I want to multiply everything by 1.05. So next, DataMaestro is going to ask me what dimensions I want to work with. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to select my version dimension because I'm going to move data from budget to forecast. That's in my version dimension. So I want to select plan version. And the element I want to start with is my budget. So when I click on this element selector tool, I can see a sort of a simple subset editor comes up. I can easily select the element that I'm looking for. You can do a search to sort of filter this list out if it's a longer list. I have different aliases. I can show the alias if I want to or not. But here I want to select my budget because that's my source. That's what I'm starting with. I say, okay. And let's say I want to add another dimension. I only want for the year 2022. So I'm going to select my time dimension, click on my element selector, and here maybe I'll search for 2022. And let me select the total year 2022. DataMaestro knows that by selecting 2022 as a roll-up, I want to work with all the n-level descendants of that consolidated element. Okay, so I've told DataMaestro that I want to work with budget data from 2022. DataMaestro then goes through my T1 model and says, well, we have 4 cubes available that have both the plan version dimension and the plan time dimension. These are the ones that you can work with because these are the dimensions you selected. Each of these cubes may and do contain other dimensions, and it's going to use the all subset. It's going to cross all of the other dimensions, but it wants to, I know I want to do all data that's in the budget for 2022. Here are my 4 options. Well, in the screen before, we saw we had the finance detail cube, the finance summary cube, the planned sales cube. I didn't see finance history. Well, I don't think that's something I want to change. I don't want to do anything with that. That's a historical data cube. I think data shouldn't change in there. So I'm gonna unselect that, but I want to work with these three cubes: finance detail, finance summary, and planned sales. And those are the ones I want to move data with. So now we jump up to the top here. Now we go to the target. We've told DataMaestro what data we want to start with. Okay, now where do we want to go? So first thing it asks is, what do you want to do? Do you want to replace data that's there, or do you want to accumulate data? Then maybe there's data there already and you're just adding to it. Well, here we're going to replace what's there. And then brings over the 2 dimensions that I've selected I want to work with. And I want to go from budget and to forecast. Now you notice these buttons up here. If I wanted to, I could create a brand new element right here on the fly. I could say I want to load this to budget final or forecast version 2 or something to that effect. I can create that element right here, load data directly to it, and it would just be that easy. But here I'm happy I have the forecast already in my model. So I say, okay. And I want to stay in 2022. So that's all the information DataMaestro needs. It knows what source data, it knows what to do with it, and it knows where it's going. So I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this a multi-cube and 3 as my description. Oh, I had that one. Let's try a different name. A cube copy example. Demo. 3 cubes as my description. There we go. So I got a message saying the task saved successfully. So let's jump out to my overall task screen again. Here's the task I just created. I see what type it is. I see a little description, who did it, when it was last done. So let's go right here and run. Are you sure you want to run this task? Well, yes, I do. Let's say okay. So while that's running, let's take a quick look at the history. So I bring up the history, and here I've got a lot of detailed information about this task. I see the result. Right now it's pending, when it was started, duration, oh, and it's completed already. It took 7 seconds. Here, I've got all sorts of information. Everything I've selected that defines that task is here. What type of task it is, my multiplication factor, I'm increasing by 5%. My source, what I've selected as my source, the target, what I've selected. And I can even get a detailed log of step by step, what's been happening, how long each step took, that sort of thing. So all that is right here, all at my fingertips, all easily accessed. So let's now jump back over to my dashboard and see how this looks. I'm going to refresh, and there we go. Now each of my cubes has my forecast populated. I can see I've got a 5% increase at each step of the way, budget forecast, and here I've got a 5% increase in my units and sales in my planned sales. So it was just that easy. Even with me going slowly and talking through and explaining each step, that was something that took really a matter of just a couple of minutes, something that, that even experienced TurboIntegrator developers, this would take a good amount of time to get that done across multiple cubes. Okay, heading back to DataMaestro, I'm going to go next to my packages screen. So a package can be thought of as somewhat analogous to a chore. Right? I've got tasks in a row that I want to run, the sort of thing I can, let me go into edit this, and here I'm going to, I have a package set up to actually clear out the data I just entered, as I will likely run this demo again. So these are the tasks that are added to this particular package. And if I go back, I can look at the history and say, well, let's take a look at this history. This is all the times I've run it. This is how long it took. And I've got this complete history. I can go to a particular job at a particular time. When was this run? I see the details. I see the actual log of detailed information about it. Again, all right at my fingertips. The other thing we can do here is I can schedule this to run. If I wanted to run this on a schedule, I could say, well, start this at a particular date. You want to run it on an hourly basis, just once, daily, weekly, etc., at a particular time. Right? So you have that sort of detailed scheduling that you can set packages up to run overnight. The other thing we can do is we can actually add TurboIntegrator processes. Oops. So in this particular example, we have a TI process that's called copy to budget. And you see some information. It's a source as a cube view. And then I've got a DataMaestro task, which is the multi-cube copy. And then allocations for the forecast is a TI process. As I said earlier, DataMaestro is not intended to replace TurboIntegrator functionality. Allocations are the sort of thing that fit very well for TurboIntegrator. Allocations can be very complicated, and you want that to be in TurboIntegrator. You need that power and that flexibility, but we can manage it right through the DataMaestro environment. You can leverage the logging. You can leverage the emails, which is the one thing I always forget to do. I did get an email from Revelwood Labs showing that my task had been completed. Right, this was done. It was completed successfully. I can click to go back to my DataMaestro screen. Okay. So that is the general highlight of our demo for today. So I tried to keep this to 20 minutes. I'm just at that time, but if we have any questions, I think that would be a good time for me to take a look and see if we have, see what we have. First question that came in is this a new product? No, it's actually not a new product. It's been out since early 2021 until very recently. It was only available to Revelwood clients. We've now opened it up to the TM1 community at large, which is why we're doing this webinar here, to sort of share how DataMaestro could really help out the TM1 administrator and owning their owning their systems. Another question: what is the difference between DataMaestro and IBM PAW, Planning Analytics Workspace? Well, IBM PAW is the whole environment, right? That's what comes with Planning Analytics. It's the web-based interface that you get where you can build your dashboards and write TI processes and do all your modeling. So PAW is really that web interface to TM1. Where DataMaestro is really just managing, at this point, we're managing those data orchestration tasks, moving data around, zeroing out, copying, with the ability to have the logging and have the messaging at your fingertips. Okay. And one more, it looks like. What are the biggest tasks DataMaestro can do? Well, again, I think the multi-cube data copy is really a game changer. I've had systems where there have been 10, 12, 14 cubes and more, where moving data and creating new version would be a very arduous task. And here, the ability to do that, in one step is really, really big time saver thing. And then the last question, because I know we're over, does this product work with Planning Analytics Cloud, or is it on-premise only? It works with both. We have a solution for both on-premise and cloud versions of TM1 Planning Analytics. Okay. There are a few more questions. I will be following up with an email with any outstanding questions to everyone who's attended. In the meantime, though, please feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to discuss anything further. My contact information is right here, so don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like. And with that, I'd like to thank you for taking some time to look at DataMaestro with me today. Thanks.